get going?
Yep.
Yeah, my name is Mike Priefer. I'm the new special teams coordinator here at Carolina, and really excited to be back in Chapel Hill. My dad was the assistant coach here under Dick Crum from 1978 to 1983, so I spent a lot of time here. Went to St. Thomas More Elementary, went to Phillips Junior High School, Chapel Hill High School for a couple years until my parents decided my dad wanted to go to the Green Bay Packers. So my senior year, I moved to Green Bay, Wisconsin from Chapel Hill. You guys can imagine what a culture shock that was. So I'm excited about being back. I was at a Letterman's dinner back in the spring, and I saw a bunch of all the guys that I grew up admiring, when I was a young guy. And Rod Elkins was there, Scott Stankiewicz was there, Paul Davis was there, LT was there. I mean, there's a lot of great players. William Fuller was a guy that my dad coached here. So I had a lot of great experiences as a young guy here. Every time I look at the bell tower, I was selling programs before games back in the day and trying to make a little bit of money. Then I went out in the field and I was a ball boy during the game. So a lot of great experiences in and around Kenan Stadium and in Chapel Hill, and I'm really excited about being back.
We'll go ahead with questions right here on the right.
There
On the right, Coach.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey Coach, Jeremiah Tacho, Charles on the side. What kind of growth can freshmen experience by contributing on special teams, building their careers, and how does that translate when they eventually move into the full-time roles on offense or defense?
Sure. That's a question that can apply. I did coach 21 years in the NFL, the last 17 in the league as a special teams coordinator, and every time we had a rookie, it was the exact same thing. So these rookies will come in, and if they're not a first or a second round draft pick, typically they played and cut their teeth on playing on special teams, and then it evolved into being a starter on offense or defense if they were good enough. That's the exact same thing that we'll have here. We have these young players coming in. They don't have to be true freshmen. They could be guys coming from the portal, different young players that come in and earn their way on special teams roles for that matter. Like Coach said, everything's earned here. Nothing's going to be given, and that means special teams roles as well. And that's the exact same process we're going to have here as we had in the NFL.
Thank you.
On the right, Brian.
Brian,
Hi, Brian.
when you heard, obviously you spent a lot of time in the NFL, when you heard that Bill might be coming to Chapel Hill, did you talk to him? Obviously, you have some ties to the area, and then when he got the job, how was that process like of saying, hey,
Obviously he's been in the NFL a heck of a lot longer than me, but I had never met Coach Belichick before my interview here back on I think January 16th, and came in the room and shook his hand, and obviously saw him across I think might have gone against them about 10 times. Maybe we beat the Patriots one time in my career, so they're always whooping us. But so the first time I met Coach was in my interview, and that was a great interview. And obviously I've admired him from afar for years. But that interview itself, I was like, after a couple hours, and it really went well, and they offered me the job, and I said, this is really what place I want to be. Not just because it was Coach Belichick, but also North Carolina itself. It's such a special place. So obviously the combination of Bill Belichick and North Carolina was a great combination I couldn't pass up.
Front center here.
Rod Baxley, Fayetteville Observer. What were those conversations like with Coach Belichick when y'all started talking special teams and kind of the vision for this program?
So obviously, like he keeps saying, we want to make this the 33rd NFL franchise. And I think when you bring in a head coach that's been in the league for 50 years, and special teams coordinator has been in the league for a long time, I think having those experiences that we have, and he understood, and we had talked about the success we had in the NFL and special teams in the places I've been, and trying to bring that to a collegiate environment. The schemes obviously will be a little bit different. The players are much younger, so the techniques and fundamentals that we teach or have to be at we have to make sure we cover those more often than we would in the NFL per se, maybe. But those are the conversations we've had about player development. I think that's the most important piece for a special teams coordinator, whether it's in college football or the NFL, is the player development piece. And that's what we're selling to our players, and they're buying in. And we talk to our recruits about that all the time. And you want to come to North Carolina because you're going to be developed as a football player and as a person. And I think that's exactly what he wanted to bring here in special teams, and I think that's what I can provide.
Front row on the right, Coach.
Michael Cohn, 97 ChapelRow.com. Coach, before you got here, special teams has been a struggle in recent years for Carolina football. When you watched film or when you studied what this team was doing on special teams before you got here, what were some things that stood out to you that were just quick fixes? If we do this thing right or that thing right, will improve exponentially?
Well, I don't know if there's any quick fixes in football. I think it's going to take a lot of hard work. What I did notice is that there were some pretty good special teams players here, and the guys that gave good effort. They did have some success, so I don't think they were terrible. Some things they need to do better, some things they did really well that I hope we can emulate. But at the end of the day, I just look at the personnel we're going to try to evaluate for the team that they had last year, the guys that are still left over, and I think, would you say, Brandon, there's 70 new players here? So we've got, 40 left over, 70 new guys. We're just trying to make sure that we figure out who the best guys are in all 6 phases, because, we joke around with other coaches, myself and Billy Miller. Billy's my assistant. He does a great job for me. He's got a lot of special teams experience. And he and I laugh about it all the time. We have 66 people on our depth chart. We have 11 per 6 phases of special teams. So there's a lot of coordination there, which I love. I love the challenge of it. But at the bottom line is that we have to make sure that we put the right players in the right spots, teach them the right techniques, get the right schemes, and help them be successful and help our football team become successful.
Right next to him on the right.
Hey Coach, Grant Sasher, Torios on that side. What exactly do you look for in players when they contribute to special teams in terms of the skill and what they're best at?
That's a great question. So what we're all about on special teams, Coach always talks about smart, tough, dependable, right? Tough, smart, dependable. I think he puts it in that order. On special teams, I've always preached toughness, and that's mental and physical, so they have to have that. They have to play with great effort. They have to have great want to. They have to want to be good on special teams in order to be good on special teams. I think they have to have great discipline, and discipline is the old Bobby Knight quote, doing what you have to do, when you have to do it to the best of your ability, and do it that way all the time. And I talk about their players setting that high standard. And the last one is enthusiasm. I told guys, if you want to cover a kickoff and you want to be great at kickoff coverage, you have to be physically good enough, talented, right? You have to know what to do and how to do it with fundamentals and techniques. But you have to love the game of football, because covering kickoff is not easy. Returning a kickoff is not easy. Being on punt protection, you're a 200-pound safety, and you got a 300-pound D lineman coming when they're in their punt safe look. You have to love the game of football, to do things the right way, to play at a high level all the time, and that's what we're looking for. Those are the type of young men that we're looking for, and I think we have a lot of those guys on this team.
Front center.
Andrew Jones, Tar Heel 24/7. To piggyback on Jeremiah's question, some coaches have various philosophies. Some may say if you're going to start a position group, you have to be on a special team.
Mm-hmm.
Some like to just play a lot of the young guys so they get on the field. Mm-hmm. With your experience in the NFL, where guys don't like, you got a limited roster, so a lot of them are playing on special teams. How do you kind of look at something where you have 66 guys on the depth chart, like you just said, and the temptation to maybe not want to use starters in special teams because they're already getting a lot of reps? Or how have you kind of figured out how you might want to balance that out? Or is that something you just kind of figure out as you go along?
No, we've talked about it. Our head coach understands the importance of special teams. I've worked for head coaches that did not. This gentleman does. He understands the importance of it, and we've talked about putting the best players out there. Now, do we want to put a starting linebacker in all 4 core phases? Obviously not. The great thing about a college roster is that, we dress 48 players in the NFL, man, that was a struggle sometimes. But in college football, I don't know, it could be 80, 78, 80, I don't even know what it is yet, and I'm sure I'll find out. But the depth is a lot better. Now, does that mean it's good depth? Not necessarily. So you have to make sure that you put those backups. Say you have a starting linebacker on your punt team, say he's gassing the 4th quarter, it's hot. Week 1, you have to make sure that his backup is just as prepared as he is, and that's my job. And I did that in the NFL, we're going to do that here as well.
Front row, far left.
Yep, Jeremiah Holloway with
Jeremiah, good to meet you again.
Yeah, you obviously alluded to it, with your experience in the NFL, figuring out who the best guys are, what they can do, things like that. I guess when you're comparing college to NFL, as far as getting guys acclimated to the special teams, what's the difference in the learning curve? I imagine, coming from high school, a lot of those guys were, let's say, star receiver, star corner. Coming to NFL, maybe they have more special teams experience than what they had to do in college to get on the field. What's the difference in that?
It depends on the program. Like in the NFL, it depends on the program that they came to. Like if you came from Alabama, Coach Saban had all his best players play a lot of special teams. So those guys were more prepared, I guess, mentally, and understood the game. Coach, a guy named David Bruton, he came from Notre Dame years ago when I was with the Broncos. He knew a lot of stuff. Now, the problem is some guys think they know more than they really do. All right, coming from college to the NFL, and guys coming from high school, sometimes they don't understand the importance of field position and how it applies to the success of a football team, and obviously the kicking game and the role that we play. So at the end of the day, the learning curve, I guess, for young guys that have never done it before, it's a little bit different than the learning curve in the NFL, but it's still very similar. So these guys that come from college to the NFL don't always know how to play and how to do certain techniques, especially the techniques and how we teach them. I think we've been doing this a long time, and the idea is that Billy and I bounce off each other and how to get guys better. And every guy's a little bit different. Every body type's a little bit different. Every position on all these different special teams phases is a little bit different. So at the end of the day, I think you just got to make sure that some guys can learn it quicker than others, but the guys that are talented enough to understand that they can be good at some of these phases, we're going to spend a little bit more time with them to make sure they get it right.
Middle, right here, second row.
Yes, sir.
Tom Shanahan, All Sports Discussion. Bill had an interesting answer when asked about his sons getting in coaching. He said he didn't push him into it. What was your experience with your father?
So I know my dad, when I first experienced was when he was the head coach at Paddo Franciscan High School up in Parma, Ohio. And I used to hang out as a little guy, and I used to get run over in drills, and my mom would yell at my dad and she'd get him in trouble. I'm the oldest of four, I'm the only son, so you know, I was getting beat up a little bit, but I had a great time. And so I admired the way my father worked with young people. My dad has always said that coaching is teaching, and that's how I look at it. I'm a teacher of football. I love football. I love teaching young people. He also had a positive influence on these young men's lives when he was in high school, when he coached in college, when he coached in the NFL. Every place he's been, he's been influential in their lives. And I had a lot of the guys at the Lenderman's dinner that I went to back in the spring, like I mentioned earlier, that came up to me and said how much my dad meant to them and their when they were young and in college, and they still remember that 30, 40 years later. So that was really cool for me to hear that. I've tried to take that same approach where coaching is teaching. I want to have positive influence on these young men's lives, and I think hopefully I've done that at most places I've been. I want to continue doing that. My wife was kind of mad at me. We have a lake house down in Lake Oconee in Georgia, and I got let go in late February in 23. So after the 22 season, I got ambushed. But the Browns were kind enough to pay me for a year. We were down on the lake, and we love and life, right? And then last year I volunteered at a high school at Lake Oconee Academy, and my wife, we had a good life there on the lake. And then of course Coach Belichick called, and his number's on my phone. She's like, don't answer it, don't answer it, don't answer it, because she knew exactly what was going to happen. That if he offered me the job, that I was going to go. But I'm only 58. I'll be 59 August 21st if you guys want to remember my birthday. But I'm too young. I was too young to retire. I still love coaching. I still love having that positive influence on people. And the great coaches I've been around in my life have that positive influence. So that's why I wanted to keep going. I know it's a long answer, but that's how important that is.
Last one back.
Hey, Coach, Ty Davis, CS 17. Should college football maybe adopt the same kickoff rules?
No, gosh, no. Those are the worst rules. I mean, I understand player safety, and believe me, I coach kickoff and kickoff return. I have my whole career with player safety in mind. So when some coaches said back, remember you had the old four-man wedge? When I broke in the NFL in 2002, there was that old four-man wedge, and they're coaching, hey, just go blow up the wedge. Well, like, no, you don't want to go blow up the wedge. That's a 200-pounder against a 300-pounder. What I talked about was you take the 300-pounder, attack half a man. I used to say, what's 300 divided by 2? And then I never got an answer, so I said 150. And so the other 200-pounder attacking the 300-pounder on half a man. So we talk about that all the time, leading with your hands, not your head, making sure we're moving our feet and bending our knees and changing direction the right way. So everything, all our techniques and fundamentals that we coach are with player safety in mind. But those rules I don't like them at all, not at all.
Thanks, Coach.
I was just having fun.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, take one. I gotta go?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.